Welcome back to Wobber Farms and Nursery. This is going to be our third video in our mini series about terrariums and plantings. So this planter that we're going to do today is an open container terrarium. So far we did an open one with some houseplants. We did a closed dome terrarium with some houseplants. And today we're going to focus on some succulents. So the reason I have the container that I selected today is because it's going to go probably in my house. There's no drain hole in this, so I need to be very careful with how I treat the potting soil that I'm putting inside this container. As we all know, succulents like to be able to drain. We don't want the leaves wet, and we want some good drainage. They like to run on the drier side. So therefore, since this container is not going to have drain holes, I'm going to make sure that we prep it accordingly. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these drainage stones. This is just like a pumice into the bottom of my container. You're not going to be able to see, but I'm just going to put a few in the bottom. The idea behind the stones is they are going to hold some excess water kind of down at the bottom, and it's going to keep the base of my plants out of the water. So then when I do water, I'm going to be strategic as to not overwater. So by putting some of these down at the bottom, it's going to give the roots a chance to grow through the stones and have a little bit of drainage before it hits the potting soil. So I'm going to put some of those down at the bottom. And then I'm going to start putting my plants in. I've just kind of picked an assortment of succulents. I'm going to start basically over in the corner. First thing you kind of want to do, though, is pick what is going to be the front of my container. And by looking at it, I think this is probably going to stay the front. So I'm going to plant on the backhand side. Now, I tend to run succulents on the drier side, and I'm often asked about it. The reason I run them on the drier side is because otherwise you tend to end up with rotten down here at the base. Your succulents will just rot off if you run them too wet. So I like them on the drier side. So I'm going to carefully, because I know this is going to be a corner piece, and I know he is going to fit here in this corner, I want to make sure that I have enough room for my other plants. Now succulents don't really need a whole lot of root base. So I'm going to actually tear off some of these roots because I know kind of what I want to stick here. So I'm going to stick this down in, get my soil level right. I'm going to add a little bit of potting soil, and actually I'm going to grab a cactus potting soil that we have. Sorry, I forgot that. This way it's going to help with better drainage. So I'm going to put some of our cactus potting soil in. If I can get it open, my goodness. We're going to add some of this. It's just going to allow for our succulents to drain better. It's going to have more of a bark mixture to it. Not a whole lot of peat moss. So more of a bark mix. And let's start with our succulent here. Kind of wedge him in this corner. About like so. Is kind of what I am thinking. And the reason I kind of cut that side off is because I have got this cute little house that I know that I want to put here kind of to back up next to this. So I kind of want that as my backdrop for this little house. I'm going to plant another one, and when I pick these, I pick things that are going to take up space, kind of a nice backdrop. I liked how this one was very flat. You want to be selective. I could have picked one that was bushier all the way around. But since this one is so flat, he's not going to take up much space in my planter. And I can really press him back. And as you can see, I'm kind of building a wall in the back of my little container here. I'm going to add this nice little fuzzy succulent to add a little more texture. Again, he's going to be part of my back wall. I'm just going to kind of wedge him in there and just kind of get him packed. Now bear with me because I'm kind of planting from the back, so I don't always know quite what I have going until we are finished. So I'm going to add some more potting soil to the top of this just so we can kind of see where we are at. So that as we are adding other plants, I can kind of work this potting soil in here and kind of around. I'm going to set my little house just so that I can kind of see. So since this container doesn't have a whole lot of room, I chose to kind of do a flat wall house. That way I don't really have to have a whole lot of room, but still can get a nice little house in here. I think we're going to build this up a little bit more with some dirt to get that up a little bit higher and kind of wedged in. So I also picked a string of pearls. I wanted a trailer in this. String of pearls will really trail quite nicely over the edge. And for this, I'm actually going to bang off most of the dirt. You can see our wind is blowing again today, so I keep kind of moving containers around. Now on my string of pearls, as I kind of tear this apart, I should be able to just kind of stick him in here, kind of even in the front. So he's going to kind of trail over the side. I can boost my roof up a little, but I don't know if I like that quite as well. Maybe over on this side would be a little better. I think I got too much going on kind of with my little house. I'm kind of thinking that I like this little look a little bit better. So let's stick that in that corner. Now remember, like we've talked about before, as you are building your little succulent terrarium, really you're building it for yourself, or you're building it with your kids. You need to make sure that you enjoy the build. That's part of it. If it's something that you're not happy with, do it again. Pull something out. Change it around. It doesn't have to be a one and done. This is something that I could constantly change out. I could add new things to it. And these little string of pearls, I can just kind of muddle them all right here in this corner, and they will trail down really gracefully. So I kind of have a spot, not a very big spot, but almost kind of enough that I could stick this little Hydorthia in. But in order to get it in, I am going to strip him all the way down. Now, succulents are really easy to root. In fact, here's a brand new root on this. So I really don't need to worry about damaging this as I just kind of wedge him in. And so I think I'm just going to kind of stick him in, just kind of as a little pop of color right there. And that's just going to kind of hold my house up a little bit. Makes it look like it's kind of a little front door ornament. Add a little more dirt to our little house. And of course, no terrarium's complete without a little flare. So to me, this just, especially with the little woodland home, looks like a little gnome maybe out on a walk. So I could easily nestle my little gnome in there. And this one, I don't have to do the white rocks. A lot of my other ones, I really love the white pumice rocks on the top. But to me, this just looks like a little more outdoorsy. So I think we'll just add that. I also grabbed a couple little sheep. Maybe these little sheep are out on pasture and he's just tending to those. So we're just going to stick these little creatures in here like so. Add a little more dirt because I think they're going to get lost if I don't. But just like that to add a little hidden gem. Terrariums. Great way to add a little mini pop of interest to your home. Thanks for watching and happy gardening.